Today's episode, you guys, is brought to you by Perfect Storm Real Estate Specific Software. It's the website I use in my business. I'm actually a partial owner within the company that's been able to give my input to help create a piece of software that is uber effective at lead generation in our real estate businesses. That website, www.perfectstormnow.com. Go check that out. It's amazing, epic front-end lead generation site that's extremely affordable for real estate agents out there. Also, today's episode is brought to you by our 90-day mastery bootcamp. If you're in the real estate industry, if you're wanting to take your business to the next level, this is a gnarly, crazy experience. We go through for 90 days straight. There's there is 13 total sessions that we go through. Each weekly session is about 2 to 3 hours long every single week. Plus, you have daily access to me going through the experience through the group. So to check out more about that program, we roll those out about every 90 days. We stagger them once in a while, but we do about 3 or 4 of those every single year. So if you want to spend the next 90 days with me, about 40 hours of just crazy epic content helping your business take it to the next level, go to www.90daymastery.com. That's our sales page. You can see testimonials, learn more about the product, and register and sign up right there. If you are signing up, make sure to use the promo code LiveMastery, all caps, all together, all one word, LiveMastery. It saves you $500. It makes that whole entire 90-day coaching experience only $997 for you guys. So, all right, let's jump on in. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview, where we interview top entrepreneurs, top health and fitness professionals, and just people that are out there straight up dominating their space, that choose to go out there and create epic lives for themselves. So today we've got a massive, amazing guest on the show. This is a serial entrepreneur, owner of the Game Changers movement, author of 6 months to 6 figures, coach, consultant, and just overall badass, you guys. So I'm really stoked to have our guest on the show today. Peter Voogd, welcome to the show, my friend.
How you doing, man? I'm great. I'm excited to be here, and I wish I could wake up in the morning and just hear that intro like every morning. Like before I get up, that fires me up.
Yeah,
That'd
dude.
Nice.
I know you're a busy dude. I know you just got back in town from Vegas. You've been out there speaking, and I've been a fan of yours for a while, man. I heard you, I don't know, about a year ago on another podcast. Got your book right away. Been following your stuff, and I know a lot of our listeners, they've been really hitting me up to get you on the show, and so I'm a big fan, and I know our listener base is a big fan, so I'm really stoked to dive in, dude. So today, and I did this interview, wanted to kind of approach this interview a little different, because we've had so many requests to get you on the show. I went to our listener base and just said, hey guys, Peter's coming on the show today. Finally, we're able to get you on with your schedule. What do you want me to ask him? And I just got a series of questions, dude, and I just figured maybe we just start firing these off and picking your brain.
I love it. I'm down, man. Whatever you want to do, I'm ready, and I'm very conversational, and I love the improv, and I love not knowing what you're going to ask.
All right, right on, dude. So there's no particular order with these questions. We're just going to dive into it. So question number 1 is, what is, in your personal opinion, what is the best way to align yourself with successful mentors?
Ooh, really good question. So, well, first, you have to become the person you need to become for them to even look at you, respect you, or want to connect with you. I have a lot of people reaching out to me, and I know that they're not developing themselves. They're looking for an easy way out. They talk a lot, but they don't really add value. So I think the first thing, Josh, is learning how to add value first, coming from a place where, let me give you an example. Someone reaches out to you, hey, I love your podcast. I'd love to be on it. I've done this. I'm a badass. I've done this and this and this. Get me on your podcast. Versus step 2. Hey, Josh, I've been following you for about a year. I'm very aligned with your vision. I really love what you're all about. I've shared your podcast for the last 6 months. I actually did an article about your podcast, and I wanted to feature it with all the people that I influence. My list isn't as big as yours, but I just wanted to add value and come from a place of service. So here's the article, and let me know if you need anything else. I'm happy to serve. Which way would you go as far as wanting to help that person or being in line with them?
Yeah, I mean, by far the second option there.
99% of people do the first one, though. That's the problem. So I think it's adding value first. Like someone asked, I believe, about Grant Cardone. I added value. I shared a lot of his stuff. I sold a lot of his books. And then I said, hey, I have a millennial audience that would love to be introduced to. I'd love to get you to speak to our Academy members. We have this many people. Here's what you can expect as far as influence and shares go. I'd love to figure out a way to make it happen and introduce you to some new people because I know your movement's huge. And He's like, for sure. He's down for that. And then what happened was I continued to do everything I could to share his stuff and add value. I was a student of him first. So I figured out how to differentiate myself. And that's how you align with certain people, is you figure out who aligns with you as far as the values you have to match theirs. And you have to reach out in a humble way and say, I want to add value to you and show that you're the real deal. And I mean, that's one of the ways to get in alignment with these high level people. But you can also take a different approach, and it's challenging to give specific examples. But a lot of people that I pay money and connect with and mentor and literally pay thousands of dollars a month for their services, whether it's marketing, whether it's branding, were people that reached out to me, Josh, first and said, hey, I just want to show you how good I am. And they showed me their skills, and that got me, they wanted to be in the circle of influence. So they showed me based on their actions and results. And that's the quick way to get in with a lot of high level people. And I've been in masterminds with 7-figure earners and even 8-figure earners. And they love when people come at them with real value and action first before they talk too much. So that's what I tell people, is learn how to become valuable, then add value and align yourself with them consistently, where you're not expecting a bunch in return, because the biggest thing they want is their time. So if you ask them for their time right away, you're going to rub them the wrong way.
Yep. Love it, man. Love it. So, all right, man, this question number 2, I love this question. I saw this, and this is something that I'm really curious to know myself as well, man. So what is a piece of advice that you often give, but you find yourself personally struggling to follow that piece of advice?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, I think there's a couple. I think one of the biggest ones that I promote a lot that's tough to follow is be patient, because greatness takes time, and enjoy the journey of success. And I often don't, because I'm so focused on my vision and I'm so ambitious that I'll hit certain milestones that I set for myself, but I will not enjoy them because I'm going to the next one. So and you can probably relate to this. You're a go-getter type as well, where you're wanting to enjoy the journey, but I'm hustling all the time. And I love doing that because I genuinely believe that it's what I'm made to do, and I really enjoy it. So I promote to enjoy the journey, to build a dynamic lifestyle, and greatness takes time, so be patient. But I'm often not patient because I do love what I do. So that's probably one of the biggest ones, is taking a step back and not living in the gap of where you could be, but appreciating where you are and analyzing why you are where you are, using your past experience for future preparation, and enjoying every single moment and being present versus thinking about what you're going to do next when you haven't even enjoyed what you've already accomplished. I mean, I'm sure everyone can relate to that, but I need to work on that, because it's tough to get success but not enjoy it. Then you're addicted to the next thing, and that's definitely not a way to live. So I think appreciating, taking a step back and understanding why you are where you are, enjoying it, and then moving on to the next venture once you actually have appreciated and enjoyed that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's a big one for me.
Yep, love it, dude. So, all right, man. So, you're a guy. I mean, you're really young. I mean, you're a young guy, very successful entrepreneur, and over the last several years, you've expanded a lot. You're seeing a lot of change. Which one of your personal views has changed the most in the last 5 years, and why?
Ooh, my personal views. I think my view of success has changed the most. I used to, when I was younger, thought it was about the material and the ego, the money, the bank account. But I really figured out that it's about living congruently and basing everything off your values. Not the quick buck, or not what sounds popular, but really taking a step back, saying no to anything that doesn't align with your values and your vision. It's tough to do because most people say yes to everything. I often ask the question, is this going to add to my freedom or take away from my freedom? So I realized that it's about progress. It's about living life on your terms, doing what you want, when you want, and making sure that every single decision you make is congruent to your vision. I did not think that when I was younger. I thought it was about hustling every day. I thought it was about making money and being a millionaire and your bank account and having the nice cars. That's important, but it doesn't last long. It's really living congruently and consistently progressing that I think it's what success is about. It's about the legacy, not the currency. And that really has totally shifted my mindset as well. And also something that shifted was I thought it was about the information that you consumed and all the knowledge, but it's not, because anything easy to consume, anyone can do it. So it's more about mastery versus overload. So I used to think that I had to get every course, every book, every audio, listen to every podcast, and go to every single seminar. And I was overwhelmed. And obviously when you're overwhelmed, you're going to seek distractions. And I realized it was about mastery and defining exactly what your ideal outcome is, and only taking in things and learning things that are actually congruent to that vision. And that was a big change in mine, as well as not being overloaded with information. I mean, I think that's two of the big ones. Another thing too for me, I ran a sales team with a lot of people, and I used to get sick of. Do you mind if I go on tangents?
Yeah, no, tear it up. Yeah, I'm loving it.
So let's just get really blunt. I haven't talked about this much, but I used to run a sales team. We had 100-something sales reps. We did $8 or $9 million in sales with these young hustlers. But what I was sick of was, and I'll tie in how this kind of relates to your question, I was sick of people when I told them about all the records that were in our company and in our office. And what do you think happens right when I say that we have all these records that we want to be broken? What do you think happens with a lot of kids? I'm going to do that. I'm going to break the record. I'm going to break the record. I'm the best at this. It happens in interviews as well. And for a lot of younger people that are getting into business, you have to understand that talking without action or execution, you instantly lose respect from people that actually have value. So I often thought about it, and I said, anything that anyone can do isn't valuable. Anyone can read a book. It's not valuable unless you execute on the things that actually matter, that get results, and you focus on taking action on the 5 or 10% of things that are most relevant to your business. And sadly, John, anyone can listen to a podcast. Would you agree these days?
Yep.
Get onto iTunes and listen to a podcast. You're not doing anything different. I commend you for investing in yourself, but you're like everybody else unless you execute on the things the things you talk about in your podcast. So I asked my sales team, I go, guys, we have a lot of people talking about breaking records. At what age do you learn how to talk? What is it, 1 year old? 2 years old? When did you learn how to talk, Josh? 2, 1?
Yeah, I mean, when it starts making sense is usually around that 2-year-old mark.
Yeah, some people are late bloomers, right? 3, 4, 5, I don't know. But the reality is a 4-year-old could say the same thing you're saying about breaking a record. So it's not any value. The value is executing. So I challenge people to focus on letting the results speak for them. And I used to talk a lot when I was younger. I'm going to change the world. I'm doing this. And I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So I feel like if you walk the walk, you don't need to talk the talk. And ask yourself what you're doing that is unrequired of you, that separates you from most people. That was a big thing that changed the game for me, is realizing that anyone can read a book, anyone can listen to a podcast, anyone can get up early, but what are you doing that's not required of you that other people aren't? And how can you take it to the next level of value? And that's where you're really going to see results. Does that make sense? So that's really what changed for me.
Yep. No, I love it, man. That's some awesome advice, bro. So, okay, what is something that you believe that very few people agree with you on?
Oh man, this is... I got a couple things. Well, first, I believe you shouldn't do shit you enjoy until you deserve it. You shouldn't sleep in, you shouldn't chill and hang with friends and go to bars and watch Sunday football unless you deserve it. The problem is people are validating all this mediocrity. Well, I worked hard. Well, you didn't get any results. It doesn't matter if you worked hard. Construction workers work hard. Janitors work hard. It's not about working hard anymore. That's the problem. It's about not working harder or smarter. It's about working right. And I feel like so many people say they want success. They need success. I have kids. I need it. Here's the problem. It doesn't matter if you need or want it. It matters if you deserve it. So one thing that I don't know if everyone agrees with me on, that people have argued with me, is that stop doing things that are pleasurable in the moment and focusing on instant pleasure when you haven't deserved success yet. You haven't put in the hustle. You haven't put in the work. You haven't sacrificed. That's one thing. I think another thing is people always say, listen to your elders. Yeah, that's fine. But what if they don't have the results you want? Why would you listen to them? Most of them are struggling, broke, and stressed out. Yeah, there might be 50, 60, 70-year-olds. I respect my elders, Josh, but I take very few opinions, and I only take opinions from people that I would want to trade places with that have the results I want. So it's just, there's too many people. You have to listen to them because they've been around for 30 years. A lot of people think that they have 20, 30 years of experience in a job, and the reality is they have 20 or 30 1 year repeated 20 or 30 times. And I talk about this in my book, but it just doesn't make sense to listen to people unless they have the results you want and they're congruent with your values as well. I think another one is college. I don't fully agree with college, going to college just because everyone else does it. I feel like a lot of the parents that give their kids the same advice they got when they were growing up, I think their kids are screwed, to be honest. I don't know who believes or who doesn't. Now, if you're going to college for a specific purpose and it's congruent to what you're going to do after college, that's fine. But I don't fully agree that you should just go blindly. And I think 69% of people can't get jobs after college right now. And the average price of college is going up at a huge rate. And the average someone makes after they graduate is an all-time low. So that's a scary thing right there. I think you have to create your value and create your ideal outcome, not let other people determine what it is for you as well. So there's a lot of things. I also often talk about the money will find you if you're good enough. People say, well, I don't have money and I'm good enough. Well, the only thing that actually determines that is your value that you bring to the marketplace and positioning yourself in the marketplace where people can actually see value and you can help them get to a specific result. So there's some things that hopefully I stir a little controversy, but those are things I really believe because I've lived it. And you're going to teach and talk about what you fully and congruently believe. And if people don't respond, that's fine. But I don't know if you agree with all those, Josh. Maybe you disagree. We can have some disagreement. But I'm guessing you're pretty similar to I am as far as your mindset. What are you thinking about some of those things?
Yeah, no, I think totally in congruency with you on those, dude. College, for example, totally agree with you in that. Hey, if you're gonna go to college to become a doctor, if you're gonna go work on somebody's brain, right? Like, okay, yeah, you need it, but outside of that, but we've both had experience there. You went to college, I went to college. We were both able to experience what that was like in the time that we live in right now, and how that had affected us. And I know for me, I can't really attribute any of my success to any of my formal education.
No, 0%. And it's weird. In school, I was often reprimanded for kind of speaking out my mind and being different. It's weird that in school, they teach you how to memorize, right? And be a follower. And you want to be like everybody else or else you get trouble. In entrepreneurship, it's the exact opposite. You want to be different. You want to speak your mind and you want to differentiate yourself from everybody else and the competition. So it's just interesting how the philosophies are totally opposite, yet so many people talk about traditional education. And I don't think they teach you how to really lead and teach you how to create your ideal future, teach you about money, teach you about mindset. I went to business school at University of Oregon and learned zero. Yeah. Right? I learned because all the professors that were teaching me never actually started a business. They just sat at home and read a book. And remember, who can read a book? Anybody, AKA not very valuable. Maybe they had the guts to get up and stand up and teach. That's fine. I respect them, but I didn't really listen, just to be blunt.
Yep. No, 100%, man. So, all right, dude. So question number 5 here, what are your daily habits that kept you going to be successful?
Well, I always ask myself 3 questions. And I'm always trying to express gratitude daily. And I'm realizing a lot of people are praying for the things that I've taken for granted. So anytime I'm in a bad mood or even a good mood, I always shift to gratitude before I start my day. So I ask myself 3 questions. One is, what am I excited about today? The next is, what am I grateful for? And what am I committed to making happen today, no matter what? So I always start my day with intention and focus. And things I do every single week that have been a part of my agenda for years, I spark my mind daily with something that's 100% congruent to my end result, to my one-page plan that I can talk about later on how I really plan my vision. And I make sure I only get stuff in my head that's congruent to that. So many people are listening to anything that comes their way personal growth-wise. Why would you listen to it if it's not fully congruent to a skill that you need to learn that's going to help you get to your vision faster? So I always make sure that I spark my mind. Next, I spark my body 6 days a week. I realize that fear is physical and you can't separate your body from your mind. When you're stronger physically, you're stronger mentally. So literally when I work out, I can feel the effects of the workout hours afterwards. I'm more productive, I'm more resourceful, and I just feel overall better and I make better decisions. And then the third thing is I reach out to people. This is where most people mess up. They try to do everything on their own. I reach out to people playing the game at a higher level than me that hold me in check. They challenge my standards. They raise my thinking. So every single week, if you looked at my planner right now, every week there's 3 or 4 people, Josh, that I want to reach out to. Whether it's people that I haven't got a hold of, like a Darren Hardy, who I actually I mean, I have connected with him, or people like Elon Musk, or people that are really big. Peter Diamandis, I've been looking forward to getting a hold of. People that are really big in specific industries I want to connect with, I reach out to them every single week to make sure I don't get complacent. The moment you stop talking to people that are ahead of you is the moment you're most vulnerable for complacency. So I also start my day with my toughest thing first, and I make sure I work in 60 to 90 minute increments of my highest value activity. I take a 20 to 30 minute transition trigger break where I kind of disconnect. I do push-ups, I walk around the block, shoot some hoops. Then I get back to my most important priority for 60 to 90 minutes ruthlessly with no distractions at all. So I've done those for quite some time. So habit-wise, I just make sure that every day I get grounded and I take a deep breath and I really get outside my emotions. I think moods and emotions are killing people's bank accounts and killing their influence, right? When you base things off your feelings or mood, I mean, you're not going to go very far, sadly. So those who only do what they feel like don't do very much. So I get straight on my vision, and I make sure I'm basing my decisions, Josh, on my values, my standards, and my vision, not my current circumstances, my emotions, or my moods. And that just causes me to stay focused throughout the day, to seize each day. And if you take care of each day, the weeks will take care of themselves. And if you take care of your weeks, the months will take care of themselves. So that's just some of the things I do on a daily basis to make sure that I stay focused on what's important to me and my vision.
Love it, man. All right, so this next question here is really a multiple part, 3-part question. So with your experience, where do you see the future of commerce headed in the next 5 years? And what steps will you be implementing in order to take advantage of it? And then this follow-up part of that is, what is a young person's greatest advantage today with regard to gaining powerful mentors and implementing strategies to accomplish their final goals? And and I don't know if you want me to fire these off separately. And then
let's just go one by one.
Okay, yep. So the first one then is, where do you see commerce heading in the next 5 years? Like, where do young entrepreneurs, businesses, how do they need to strategically align themselves to make sure that they're not becoming extinct in the next 5 years?
Yep. So they have to be very, very customer centric, very value based, very culture based versus profit based. And if you do that and you focus on attracting A players by making sure that you're fully congruent from your CEO down to the mailroom person, that's how you're going to attract top tier talent. I did an episode with an international news show probably like 8 months ago, and all they talked about was millennials and culture and what they actually. I wish I could pull it up. I don't know where it is, but I only talked about what millennials care about and what their biggest focuses are. And one of the I surveyed, I think 2,000 or 3,000 millennials, entrepreneurs that are already successful, that are below the age of 30, and number one thing they wanted in a job or career, number one thing they wanted was a great culture to network in. So their BS meter, Josh, is so high where if they can sense that a company doesn't have their best interests in mind, they're done. I mean, they're going to attract maybe C and D players, and a lot of companies are surviving by attrition, by they're just recruiting, and that's not going to work in the next 5 to 10 years. You have to focus purely on having a mission, because plans are failing left and right, movements are thriving. So I think if a company can really become a movement focus versus just a profit focus, that's a start. But taking care of your customers, the whole purpose of business and where it's going is raving fans, not a specific guideline of, well, actually the guideline says we can only give this price. We're so sorry, we can't do the return. And they're so guideline focused that they're getting so many bad reviews. And what do you do before you eat sometimes? What do you look up? Or before you go to a specific restaurant, do you do what I do?
Yeah, you're always going to Yelp, checking out the reviews.
And what if someone tells you from the restaurant, oh, it's amazing, we love this place, but all Yelp says, oh, this place, shitty customer service, they didn't get my money back for this and it was their fault, oh, they were rude, they had bad attitudes. What are you going to do?
Right, you're going to listen to the customer reviews for sure.
Period. But companies still are not focused on that. If I was a CEO, I would say your number one focus is to make the customer shift their emotional frequency, make them feel excited, give them an experience where they want to come back. If you have to cut a little bit into profits, I give you full range. What I would do before every single day, if I was a CEO, I'd be in the office, I'd be in the the brick and mortar, I'd be on the online forum, whatever your specific niche is. And I would have one or two people go around every morning and tell me a story of how they impacted a customer the day before.
Yep.
So people understood that it's about the experience and the stories, not just the bottom line profit. So that's another thing. It's all about the raving fans, and people need to understand from the second that they get to a point of your business, whether it's a marketing piece, whether it's a billboard, whether it's a phone call, to when they actually get your product, when they open the box, it has to be full user experience. Think about Apple and think about Beats by Dre. When you go into an Apple store, to when you touch it and check it out, to when you buy it, to when you go home and open it, you feel, I don't know if you're an Apple fan or not, it's hard not to be, because of all the things they've done innovation-wise, but you feel amazing and you want to continue buying, right? Do you feel that same way with what are some brands that you really love, Josh, that stuck with you because of how they treated you or how the product worked?
Yeah, well, and I think Apple's a prime example, man. You go in there, the experience is always brilliant. Then compared to if you step into a Best Buy, which is just night and day.
Oh, exactly, 100%. And another question that commerce should ask is, why should people do business with our company versus every other company in the world, or including doing nothing? And most businesses cannot answer that. They haven't really differentiated themselves and really solved a big problem. And they haven't been customer-centric. They're more ego-centric versus customer-centric. So that's another big thing, is asking that question. And if you can ask that question and really think about what differentiates you from every other business, you're going to be onto something. But what I was saying, and we'll finish up with this, is companies need to understand the whole purpose of business is to create raving fans who want to promote what you do without people telling them to promote it. If you take care of somebody, if you give them extra value, and if you exceed expectations and you're innovating and you're showing them that you're the leading authority, you're at the cusp of that industry, people are going to want to keep coming back. They're going to want to share. They're going to want to get out there and tell people about what you do. And if you're customer focused versus guideline focused and profit focused, I think those are the companies that are going to thrive in the next 5, 10, 15 years.
Awesome, man. So, all right, the second part to this question is, what is a young person's greatest advantage today with regards to gaining powerful mentors and implementing strategies to accomplish financial goals?
Well, good question. So I think the first thing is you have to realize that if people don't understand why they're asking about elevated influence, behind every successful entrepreneur, you're going to find a very educated and wise mentor. And I really have yet to meet young, successful people. We have an academy, and we have a lot of young 19, 20, 21-year-olds already making six figures. And every single one of them has a mentor. So they understand that it's really impossible to grow and become the person they need to become to get to that next level of success, whatever that means for them, especially the $1 million mark. So I think that the biggest thing is learning how to maximize their strengths, and awareness is a huge key. One of my favorite things that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about and told me years back is, he said he sucks at 99% of things, but boy, does he go all in on the 1% that he's good at. If younger entrepreneurs can really dig deep and figure out who they are, who they're not, what they want, and who they need on their team to accomplish that, and they're purely focused on their creative genius and what they can become the best in the world at, and they delegate everything else, that is the best advantage they can possibly have, because they're going to become better than anyone else at that, because that's all they're practicing and focusing on. So tell me if you've seen this issue impacting younger people, Josh, where they want to get good at 7 things, or they're like, hey, I have like 17 things going on right now, but they're not crushing in any of them, and they're mediocre in 3 or 4 or 5 things, versus becoming a master at one of them. And once that's scaled, once that's consistently creating income and impacting people without them there, then they move on to the next thing. Have you seen that issue where people have too many focuses?
Yeah, I mean, almost daily. I'll get people hit me up and say, "Hey, Josh, here's my 8 priorities that I want to be able to accomplish in 2016."
If you have more than 3, you have none. That's what I'll tell them. So yeah, I mean, that's one of them, is awareness of who you are, and don't base it off others' opinions or what others think of you. Base it off really digging deep on who you want to become and what you'd be fascinated and engaged with the next couple years, right? You need to differentiate yourself from the majority. And if you want to really take it to the next level, you have to figure out literally what you'd be obsessed with the next couple years, that you'd be happy to practice every day and to get good at, and what you'd want to do when no one's watching you, right? I even forgot the question, but for millennials, it's just awareness. Another big key for millennials is finding a very, very powerful why. Most people don't know at a deep level why they're doing what they're doing. Before you can ever reach the six-figure mark, you got to get clear on why you're doing what you're doing. So let me talk about this, and I can answer this question, Josh, and they might answer the next one. So many people have all these things in their head. How I've simplified everything into a one-page plan, because if you have a 7-page plan or you have all these things in your head, you're never going to make the most strategic or intentional decision. So I have what's called a one-page productivity plan, where I have everything I need that fires me up, my vision, my goals, on one page. And this is the biggest thing you could do at a younger age to give yourself an advantage over most people who are filled with so much information. So the first thing I have on there is my ideal 6-month outcome. And I'll challenge you, you might have some of these things, but what is ideal for you in the next 6 months? Where do you see yourself in 6 months? If me and you were sitting down in 6 months having coffee, what would have had to happen for you to be fully satisfied and excited about your results? Most people don't know exactly where they want to go, so how are they supposed to get there? They cannot define exactly where they want to go. And the problem is they keep working without getting clarity, and that way they still get stressed out and they struggle. So you have to stop and get clarity first. So write down your ideal vision. Next, you want to write down your top 5 for the next 6 months. What are the 5 things that have to happen that you're excited about, that you're focused on in the next 6 months, right? And right below that, I write my values. What are my values that I live by that are most important to me? Impact, financial freedom, flexibility, family, health. And you have to make sure that you're connecting with people that have your same values. You see, for me, I won't connect or want to be mentored by somebody who doesn't have the same values, even though they're valuable. So I'm going to follow someone, Josh, more like a Tim Ferriss, that is an innovator. He has an amazing lifestyle, and he's also impacting millions of people, than someone like a Donald Trump, who I'm going to ignore the question that was asked about Donald Trump. But Donald Trump, because he works 24/7, which is fine. Even Vaynerchuk, he works a lot. I want the lifestyle and the impact. I don't need to work 24/7. So I have my values. And sometimes my value is family and flexibility before anything, and then impact and legacy. And then it's income. I have turned down $5,000 plus speeches, and I've given free speeches. People say, why the hell? That doesn't make sense. Well, yeah, it does, because I base everything off my values and what's most important to me. So now when an opportunity comes your way, you play it against your values, and if it matches up to those, you take it and go all in. If it doesn't, you say no. So I have my values next. So I can always look at my values and be reminded of what's important to me. I wish I knew this when I was 21, 22. Would have saved me years of headache. And then what I was getting at, my reasons. So everyone has strong reasons, but most don't tap into them. So I would challenge people right now, what are your biggest 20 reasons of why you want to thrive as an entrepreneur? Why you want to make 6 figures? Why you want to prove people wrong? Why you want to make 7 figures? Why you want to become a leading authority, the best at what you do, a speaker, create your startup, whatever. And then 15 of those are probably garbage. They're material. They don't really mean a lot to you. You have to start with why, like Simon Sinek says. So I always write down 20, 30 reasons, and I realize only 3 to 5 of those are really compelling, where they'll wake me up in the morning. If you don't have reason, if you're not waking up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning fired up, you do not have strong enough reasons. And I would not continue on until you write down those reasons. So pick out your top 3 to 5 that mean the most to you, internal reasons, your inner ambition reasons. And then below that, I write down the top 2 to 3 skills that I need to master that are most congruent to my 6-month goals. Because skills are weapons, and I slowly master those skills over the next 6 months to make sure I hit those goals. So you put all this, Josh, on a 1-page sheet. You laminate it. You print out 3, 4 copies. I have one in my shower. I have one in my planner. I have one in my car. I have one in my office. So I'm letting my vision guide me, not my current circumstances. And really, I think if they can do that, they can get clear and they can stay the course when most would quit or let up. That's a huge advantage.
So what is one thing that you're focused on mastering right now that needs to happen for you to accomplish your next 6-month goal? Like you personally trying to focus on mastery on right now?
Yeah, so there's two or three. One of the biggest ones is delegating and building a solid team. I have a great team, but one of my focus is how to build my dream team, how to create a team so dynamic and so powerful that we become the best in the world at what we do. We're going to start something called the Millennial Movement, and we want to be the best in the world. So I actually have some younger people that are doing some things for Nike, some things for Tony Robbins. So my focus right now as a skill-wise is how to lead and delegate properly and find the right people that congruently can fit into my circle of influence that are mutually beneficial, where I can help them and they can help me. So that's really my main focus. And if I could give anything to people, the understanding of delegation, intelligent delegation at that, and building a team that's strategic is so powerful. It will exponentially grow your business and your lifestyle to where you wouldn't even believe. So have you seen a difference, Josh, in the last 2 to 6 years when you start building a team or have people around you that do things that you don't like doing?
Yeah, so it was one of the toughest lessons I had to learn, but trust absolutely equals capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So before I could learn how to delegate and really give up that control, my business was totally stifled. I was at like 40 million in production per year for years, just bam, bam, bam at the same point. But until I really mastered that, or was able to, not necessarily master it, but was able to grasp that concept, we weren't able to break out of those plateaus.
And it's tough because you want to do everything or you feel like you can do it. But if someone can do something 80% as good as you, it's time to delegate. Richard Branson said that the purpose of his business was to replace himself so he could focus on the bigger picture and grow it bigger and then eventually grow the next company. What does he have, 300 or 400 companies now?
Yeah,
right? And they're all crushing it. It's because his purpose is to replace himself, not to always be in the business. So I think that's my biggest skill right now, is learning how to, I don't like to call it delegation, but more design and create my dream team and lead them properly, give the right incentives, tie them into a vision so we can all congruently change the game and help each other.
All right, awesome, man. So the last part of this question, which is probably a good segue into talking about your game changers movement, but is what are some great or any specific great groups or institutions for that younger generation to get involved in?
Cool. There's a couple. I mean, there's YEC, which I'm a part of. YEC is just an entrepreneur group that's amazing, that has a lot of great resources. There's Founders Society that I'm a part of, that it's like an entrepreneur hub where you get a bunch of discounts on all kinds of things entrepreneur focused. I have a travel agent and people that book your travel for you. They get you discounts at hotels, discounts at clothing stores, discounts at entrepreneur groups. I have a workspace where I can work pretty much in any town, as far as I can have an office in different towns. You just lease out a space, pay a fee. So that's another good one. We do have a Game Changers Academy, which is my favorite thing, and we're trying to create the premier community on the planet for entrepreneurs that really want to become game changers. And we have guest speakers every month, like Grant Cardone and Vaynerchuk and Ariana Huffington and Darren Hardy and Chris Ducker and Brian Tracy's coming up next month. So it just depends on really what you want to focus on. To be honest, if you want to get good at speaking, there's a lot of speaking organizations. Toastmasters I joined, and that helped me get over the fear of speaking a while back. I knew that was a skill I needed to master if I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. I joined that. And in my book, let me see if I have it. In my book, Josh, I give a lot of resources. I think I give like 6 or 7 of my best networking resources to entrepreneurs if they want to learn how to join. I don't just put mine in there. I put all the ones that have helped me in the past as well. So there's also BNI, and there's EO, which is you have to make 7 figures, obviously. You've heard of EO, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So EO is great as well. And really just pick the one that's most congruent to you. I would try it out. I would research it, do your due diligence. And if you like the people and they have what you want and they'll challenge you, join that. But those are some of the ones that I've joined that I've learned. And there's even, I've done some meetups where I've ran some meetups in Vegas and in San Diego, and they get some great turnout. So I've also, if you look on meetup.com and you type in entrepreneur groups in your area, you'll find some there. And some are garbage, just to be blunt. ran by people that don't actually get results, but they just want to run meetups because it's fun. So you have to pick and choose, but there's a couple of them that I've done that have really helped. But I always, more than groups, I always had an advisory board. So 3 or 4 mentors for different areas, whether it's emotional strength, whether it's money and wealth, whether it's mental toughness. I've always had mentors to call upon when I didn't feel like I was at my best or I was struggling mentally. I always had people to call upon that challenge me, that kind of check me in place, if you say.
Yep, love it, man. So got a few questions left for you, but I know that time's tight for you. So these last few, we'll probably have to rapid fire for you because I know you've got to get going soon. So before I jump into these last questions, though, how does our listener base learn more about you? I mean, your book's phenomenal, dude. It's a book that I downloaded on iTunes. I've listened to multiple times. I mean, it's a must read for everybody. How do people learn more about you, Peter? Learn about your book? How do they share some contact info?
Yeah, I appreciate that for you taking the time to read that as well. And it's definitely something I challenge people. Everyone has a book in them, and it took a long time, but to really get it out there and hear its impact in people is great. So first, if they want to learn more about my book, it's on Amazon or sixfiguresbook.com. They can check out, they can buy a book. The new hardcover's available. And then gamechangersmovement.com is about the academy. And I'm very active, Josh, on Twitter, Peter Voogd 23, Facebook as well. And then if they want to get, I put together some resources a while back for a small, intimate group of entrepreneurs. If they go to the entrepreneurBreakthrough.com, there's a productivity blueprint that I created that used to sell for $397 actually. But it's my best tips on productivity. It's like a blueprint you can follow. They can go to the entrepreneurbreakthrough.com. There's also information about me on there as well. But to be honest, I mean, I love helping younger entrepreneurs. Sometimes I physically can't respond to every email, but I really do try because I remember when I was new, there's a lot of big names that would actually take time to teach and listen and respond to me. So if they just mention, Josh, that they are part of your tribe and your movement, I will give them time if they have questions or anything like that. Awesome. So if they want to email me as well, and it's on my contact site.
Yep, that's huge, man. All right, so last few questions. So what are the largest objections and failures in the beginning stages as you're trying to build your businesses? How did you navigate through them? And who and what was your go-to resource?
So I've pretty much failed my way to success. And you have to understand, failure is crucial and success will not happen. This is a good question, so I can dive into this because this is something I've been very, very passionate about because people try to get to success without failure. It doesn't make any sense. That's like trying to make money without adding value. It's like going to a casino. Anywhere you're going to find people that you can make money for nothing, you'll find undeveloped people. Let me get that out there. So casinos, anywhere you can make money without doing anything, you ain't going to find the sharpest people. Anyways, so it's crucial to success that you fail. And how you respond determines your success. So what I learned is a high tolerance for stress and failure is a skill success that people are paid for. And I personally handle failure a couple different ways, and I've had my fair share. First is you have to understand and be aware that it's a crucial part of growth, and it can be a good thing if approached with the right perspective. So not only does failure give you a better perspective, but a different perspective than you had before. So for me, I used to think when I failed, I took it personal and it kind of bumped me down a couple notches. I lost confidence. But now I get more confidence when I fail because I know I'm doing the right thing. You take it on with courage and confidence. You become wiser and you have a better understanding of who you are and what not to do next times. Another thing I do is I handle it by staying loyal to my vision and my goals through failure. Most people, when they go through failure, they let up and they forget about their vision. You have to stay focused on your vision even when others don't approve because they don't know who you really are, who you want to be. So I keep my vision even when my confidence wavers. And a common theme here is those who really achieve a higher level of success stay congruent to who they are even when things get tough and when they fail. So you have to stay loyal to yourself through failure, and you should always be building your confidence. And don't be too tough on yourself during failure, but it should strengthen your commitment. And most people beat themselves up, but the select few leverage failure for greater success. So, I mean, I've had numerous failures, but one thing I've learned from the greats, and Josh, this is something that's changed my life, is whenever something happens or wherever you want to analyze where you are, take emotion out of the equation. Take a step back. and analyze versus get emotional. Do not get any frustration involved. Do not get any discouragement involved. Don't get pissed off. Just analyze why that happened and how you can use that to educate yourself even further. So for me, I always invest my past failures into my future preparation. One of my biggest failures was not thinking things through, and I was working all the time. I was working 40 hours a week, and I thought that if you worked more hours, then you got more successful. That's what society says. Any advice I got from society, I usually realized that was that was the wrong advice. It's like if society does it, run the exact opposite way, because you know the stats. Most of society is struggling, stressed out. They don't really live their passion. They're not doing what they love, and they're struggling. So for me, I worked 80 hours a week, and I finally made money, Josh. I was finally making money, 6 figures, but I forgot that lifestyle and family and influence was important to me. So I now had all this money, but I had zero time to actually enjoy it. So my first failure was not thinking about the end result and just doing things based off my energy and passion, not based off intelligence and strategy. So I took that failure and I asked myself, how can I invest this? How can I analyze what this means to make more intelligent decisions in the future? And just that mindset really helped. And what kept me focused through the tough times was my compelling reasons. When I look at my reasons of why I'm doing it, and you have to pick 1 or 2 instances that really pissed you off from your past to keep you focused. So one of mine was my parents' wedding anniversary. One of their best friends from God knows when, they wrote him a personal letter. They couldn't wait for them to be at the 25th wedding anniversary, and they did not show up. And guess, and I was, I think, 16, 17. Take a guess, Josh, why they didn't show up to something monumental and extremely important.
Yeah, probably couldn't afford it.
That's one. Guess what the other one was?
Couldn't get the time off of work.
Perfect. And I'm thinking, I'm confused, right? I'm 16, 15. I'm just like dumbfounded. How the hell is that possible that you're a freaking 40 or 50-year-old and you cannot get 6 months in advance? You can't take time off. You can't save money. I'm like, I'm never, ever going to be like that. And I could not stand other people telling me what I was worth. I get passionate right now about it. So whenever I feel myself when I was new or struggling or failing, I'm like, no, I got to get past this, because I never, ever want to not be able to do something based off what other people tell me. And you have to have those instances where maybe your boss pisses you off or you don't have time to spend with your kids. I have a guy that has a daughter on the academy that was making $200,000-300K, but his daughter says, I don't ever see you. You're not spending enough time with me. So he uses that statement and motivation. It's on his vision to why he's now becoming an entrepreneur. And you have to have those reasons to pull you through the toughest challenges. So really that's it. I use my failure as leverage for greater success. I understand that it's needed, it's crucial, and I always focus on what drives me versus my insecurities and my past fears.
Yep, love it, man. So, and this is an awesome question for our audience, because we've got a big part of our listener base are in corporate America, and they're using this show to get inspiration and tactical information to be able to make that transition into entrepreneurship. So, how would you recommend people transition from employee to entrepreneur?
Yeah. So here's what I feel personally is the number one reason people don't do it is uncertainty. When you have a job, or when you have a corporate job where you're paid consistently every 2 weeks or every week or every month, that's security. But with increased security comes lack of freedom. You have to create your own security and increase your certainty in entrepreneurship. So the first thing I tell you is you have to figure out ways. They have to figure out ways, Josh. If anyone's listening, I'm talking to you because I've been there and I've helped a lot of people get out of corporate. I had someone that was making $700,000 a year in corporate. Okay, say, Peter, if I could just make $60K as an entrepreneur a year, I would be ecstatic. So that tells me, it's like, wow, you'd rather make $60K with freedom than make $700K with someone telling you when you can go to the bathroom. Well, that makes sense, and that's where the world's going. So you have to increase your certainty. Here's my favorite ways to increase your certainty. Do your due diligence in your research. Research what your ideal outcome is. Research the industries that you want to go into. Research all the different avenues you can take that other people are succeeding at that you know. Second is connect with people that have certainty in entrepreneurship. one way to increase your certainty is to study and research. Another way is to be around people that have certainty. So if you're hanging around a bunch of other corporate people, you're going to get certainty in what? Corporate. And guess what corporate people say when you're like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? Oh man, that's not good. You got a cushion. You're making 400 grand a year. Come on, man. This company's going to change the world. Yeah, but I can't even leave if I wanted to at a specific time. And I'm 45. That's a problem because I like freedom. They're like, oh, that makes sense. Another way to do it is preparation, planning and making sure that you're prepping exactly when your exit is. So I would tell people to put a date in their calendar because it's not real until you have a date. So if you're in corporate and you don't like it, 6 months from now, I don't know what the date of the release is. Let's say June 1st, right? You're done. You put it on your calendar. That's your last day. You're going to be more resourceful. And as time decreases, your intensity and focus increases. You'll figure it out, the next thing. If you continue to do your due diligence, reach out to people that have already done it, and continue to prepare and sacrifice, once your certainty is increased, that's when you can make the jump, Josh. But most people just don't want to increase their certainty because they're so stuck in their ways from what worked in 1996.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, why did you make a jump, or do you know people that have made the jump? Why'd they make the jump? I bet you it's because they actually got clear, they got certain, and they had more confidence, and they had more reasons to leave than to stay. Am I right?
Yep, absolutely.
So that's it. Just increase your certainty. Do everything you can to find the compelling reasons and to give yourself the best out, and then set a date to make it real.
Yep, love it, man. All right, so last question here. If something happened and you got financially wiped out, like everything just went away, your health's good, your fiance is good, family's good, all that's fine. But financially, dude, you're wiped out. But you've retained this PhD that you've got, in your head of entrepreneurship, all the skills, everything that you've learned. What's the first 1, 2, maybe 3 things that you'd immediately go out there and do to rebuild this empire that you've built?
Yeah, so I'd put my PhD in a shredder. And then what I would do is I would make sure that I would find a way to add value to people in my industry and find a way to get paid off results from them. So whether it's promoting something, whether it's doing a joint venture, whether it's building an influence with someone who doesn't have it in a specific niche, that's one thing I do. Second thing I do is I would take out to lunch probably the 5 or 6 most influential people that I knew. I don't know if you said you don't know anybody or you do.
No, I mean, you have your same contacts, same people that you know.
Yeah, so I would spend the next week or two, if I was dead broke, I would spend the next week or two taking out to lunch the most influential people I knew and just asking questions and just listening. And from there, you would find what your next step is. You don't have to figure out what your next step is. Other people who have been there will tell you so you can cut your learning curve in half. I next would increase my confidence account because when your confidence is high, you're more resourceful, you're more creative, you're more mentally tough, and you find ways to make income. I would figure out a way to increase my confidence by making tougher decisions, by sacrificing, by reaching out to people that are playing the game at a higher level than me so I can take better action. And eventually, when I invest more in myself and connect with these high-level people, I'll become more valuable, and that's when money will start to come. So I wouldn't even focus on money if I was dead broke. I would get clear on who I wanted to be. I would get clear on who I needed to connect with. I would connect with them, and from there, I would figure out where I was going to go next based on all the people I connected with. So it's all about the connections and the networking, and that's literally what I did when I was dead broke. Is I reached out to people playing the game at a higher level than me and did exactly what they did, and I was able to cut my learning curve in half and make the 6 figures. So that's it, man.
Awesome, man. So, I mean, you're a dude that, by design, by choice, is went out there and created this epic life. Do you have any maybe last words of inspiration or last words of motivation? Life is so brief, and people truly, I don't want to say deserve, but should have that opportunity to go out there and create the life that they truly want while they exist. Do you have any maybe last words of inspiration, motivation you'd like to leave our listener base with to go out there and create that epic life like you've done for yourself?
Yeah, I challenge people. I think the number one reason people don't thrive and get to that next level is they never tell themselves now matters. Most people spend the first half of their life saying they're too young and the second half saying they're too old. And they live in this gap. And if I can just tell people, figure out exactly what you want And then here's the step people miss. Figure out what you're willing to give up to get what you want. And if you can figure out what you can be the best in the world at, what's going to keep you engaged, and what's going to keep you fascinated, and you can do that to the best of your ability, and you can build a legacy based on your strengths and your value, I think you've done well. If you've built the best relationships you can, if you've really focused on mastering something that means the most to you, that adds value, I think you're good. You're not going to get to the end of your life and wish you had more transactions. That's what I'll tell people. You're going to wish you had a bigger impact and stronger relationships. So I tell people, now matters more than ever. When you stop listening to this podcast and watching this video on YouTube, wherever you're listening or watching this, if you sit down and say, wow, that was great, and then go do something else, you're not understanding what me and Josh are saying. Now matters more than ever, because if you maximize today, tomorrow will take care of itself. So I would just tell people to value their time and not waste any more time, because this life is short. And if you want to maximize it, you got to live every single day like it's your last. Do it strategically and intentionally. And if you can do that, you can look in the mirror and be proud of yourself for who you've become.
Yep, love it. Powerful words, man. And to our listener base out there, as we end every podcast with this, right? Information without implementation is the start of delusion. So you've heard from a dude that's done big things, epic things, that's created massive success at a really a young age in his world. You guys have given a lot of just gold nuggets here. Make sure that you take something that Peter talked about, go take action on, implement immediately, and go out there and create that life that you guys know that you want and deserve. And Peter, man, it's been an absolute honor, dude. I know how busy you are, and this has been a huge honor to have you on the show, man. Greatly appreciate it, my friend.
You too, man. I appreciate the impact you're making as well, and let me know if I can do anything for you. And once again, thanks for having me.
All right, you got it, my friend. And you listeners out there, go dominate. You guys tear it up.